Hey everybody, welcome to the No Fudd Zone. This is just a little get together by some of my regulars where we come together once every week on Saturdays. Instead of just listening to me talk about these topics, you get to hear what some other people think as well. So we're going to get started tonight. First, I want everybody to introduce themselves, starting with Johnny Mandrick.
Hello again, it's Johnny Mandrick here.
I am Gummy Wuzzle. I'm from South Carolina.
Nice shirt.
Thank you.
And
I am Welper, the late one.
Yes, very late. He held us up forever today. We would have been already started if it wasn't for him. But we got one topic to start off with here today, and it comes from one of our own here, Chrissy Jones, Gummy Wuzzle. And he says, what compromise is possible on our side of the gun debate? And if we make no compromise, is it still possible to win the fight if winning is even possible? I want to hear what other people have to think about this before I weigh in. What compromises, if any, do you think the gun community could make regarding gun rights in this country and actually be able to win the pro-gun argument?
Wow. I could see some things like we had just talked about the training, right? That at some level we just don't have the knowledge. People aren't passing down to their kids how to safely handle and use guns. But given what most anti-gunners are like, there's no compromise we could make. The only compromise they want is we just hand over all the guns and promise that, make sure all the bad guys hand theirs over too, and no one's going to do anything.
Well,
I can't see what we could give up or we could offer that would cause them to stop the assault on the rights.
Anybody else? Welper?
Does it count for like the racism and discrimination that comes out of the gun community? If we could that up, I think we'd have a lot better time trying to get anything done.
Yeah, if we could somehow stop that, that would probably be a good step, because there's a lot of time we lose support from people that are in the middle and don't care one way or the other, but they end up going to the other side because the other side isn't walking around screaming about, being a proud boy with masks on their face and stomping around talking about how they're the superior race and all this stuff. And the gun community not only seems to condone that stuff, but a big majority of the gun community tends to just love that kind of thing for some reason. Yeah. Don't know why, but they tend to they embrace the worst things. The gun community and the gay community have a lot in common. It's like they seem like they want to put the worst of themselves on TV with every camera pointed at it. They want to help the media portray them negatively. And when it comes time to shout down the bad elements, they don't want to do that. They don't want to stand up. They just want to be like, they're just a fringe. They don't matter. But they're the most visible, loudest fringe, and they make everybody think that's what all gun owners are like. Gummy Wuzzle, was your question. What do you think?
So, I'm just looking for some hope. Like, let's say that we don't compromise on a damn thing and we win. We get everything we want. I'm not sure I want to see what the rest of the world looks like surrounding that. Okay. Because we can trample on people's rights just as easily as anti-gunners can. But if we don't compromise and they don't compromise, where are we?
Well, I don't always believe there's a need for compromise, because people use this false mindset all the time of, well, when two people disagree, the truth is somewhere in the middle. That's not true. That's often,
I can agree with that.
More often than not, that's completely untrue. Usually when two people disagree, one's right and one's wrong. And the person who is right shouldn't have to agree to be half wrong just to satisfy the person who's wrong. And when it comes to gun rights, we're in the right. And as far as, if we won all of our rights, things would go to hell, I don't agree with that at all, because I think most people don't want to make anybody do anything. The Christian evangelicals do, the far left does, but most people don't want to make people do anything. So they're not going to stomp on people's rights. And we've seen in states where there's more guns and, less training and all this other stuff, that there really doesn't seem to be any differences, about how much gun violence there is or how many people, try to enforce their rules on other people. The guns don't seem to have that big effect. I will say that, that, a lot of the gun community, like I said, attitude is a big problem. And some people allow guns to make them think they're the self-appointed protector or punisher, the protector of the innocent and punisher of the guilty. And I saw something about that the other day, and it was one of the gun organizations, and I'm not going to say their name, but they're out of Colorado and they suck. They were supporting these people that were saying that they were, like green dot hunters or red dot hunters. I forget what they call it. And what they're talking about is, on your community maps, wherever there's a sex offender, there's a dot. They're registered. And they were the ones that's like, it's on us to get these people out of our neighborhood, even if we have to use force and violence and all this other stuff. And these assholes were appearing to be in support of that. And I threw a fit and made a big long post on their page, which they deleted, where I said, the vast majority of people that are convicted of being a sex offender did something like urinated in public, or got drunk with someone they met and had sex, and then they got upset about it the other day, or was dating someone and their father found out and had them charged, for contributing to a minor, even though they've been dating for 4 years when they were both minors. A lot of people on the sex offenders registry didn't do anything wrong. They had sex with someone that wasn't their wife in Utah. They getting on a sex offender list, or participated in a nude protest in certain states. Those aren't people that need to be hunted down and possibly murdered, and you don't need to support the idea that it is. That's people being brainwashed into thinking that, the government, when they label someone as bad, we know they're bad. The same people who don't trust the government want to use a government website to go after everybody that they think is now subhuman because of that. But having worked in the mental health field and have a lot of these people as my clients, they get charged. I had one client that he was a sex offender because he got caught having sex with his boyfriend in the park. Two 15-year-olds doing whatever they wanted to do with each other in a private place in the park, because they were hiding from society and their parents, and then end up being sex offenders at the age of 16, which no teenager should be labeled a sex offender for that. Sex offenders nowadays, a large number of them are people who took pictures of their junk and sent it to a classmate, that they liked. They'll get labeled a sex offender. It's ridiculous.
They did that to a 13, 14-year-old kid, didn't they?
Yeah. And people want to hunt them down and kill them. And then the gun community supports that because they allow the worst element. And hardly anyone in that comment section was saying anything negative about it. They were cheering them on. And I'm like, why would you cheer on people to go and with guns to go and harass people that they know nothing about just because the government says certain things about them? That just goes to show what fucking sheep people in the gun community are. And I get so tired of that. But as far as compromises we could make, my first instinct is no compromise. The Second Amendment is the Second Amendment. The only compromise I'll make is if you want to amend it and you can get the votes, amend it. And then that'll be the law of the land once you amend the Constitution. Until then, the Second Amendment's the law of the land. But there are some things that I would say I would bring to the table, some things I would offer. I would say I'd be okay with schools being required to offer gun safety. They have to do it. That they have to offer, anyone who wants to take a class in high school to be a better marksman or a safer gun handler. The schools have to provide that for them. I would be willing to compromise and say we should actually take public money from public taxes and build ranges where people can go and get training and aid in learning how to use their firearm. Maybe just learn how to take it apart, clean it, put it back together. That kind of stuff should be available. And I'd be willing to say, we always say training shouldn't be required, but I would be willing to make the government and government agencies provide the training, make it available for people to go to it if they want it. And I would say that would make society a lot safer. That'd be like the only concessions I'd be willing to make, to use some taxpayer money to provide some training for people who want to carry a gun. But as far as like surrendering any rights or anything like that, no, I'm not going to do that, because this is one of those situations where the answer is not in the middle. Right now, the Second Amendment is the law of the land. And if they want to change that, fine. But that's not the way it is.
Yeah, like I said, thinking through what, this other side, the anti-gun people, the gun control people, what they're asking and demanding, I don't know. Right? I mean, I still remember the days where you could buy a shot. You walked into Sears, they had shotguns laying in a barrel outside on sale, or you could mail order a gun. There was no background check. There was no whatever. And, based on the rhetoric from them today, oh, we should all be dead by now because, everybody all these people had access, kids had access to gun. No, when a kid got a gun, somebody knew about it, and they were either responsible or it got taken away.
Yep.
So I don't see what we could compromise on. I could see where, like Yankee said, there's mandatory training, but it's got to be government issued training. Like in Washington,
well, not mandatory training. It's just mandatory that the government offers it, and then you can take it if you want to.
Oh, I'm like, when I went to high school, it was mandatory that you took a swimming class in order to graduate.
Yeah, and they can do that in school.
Yeah,
I'd be okay with that in a school, because the school gets to tell the parents, and the PTA get to decide what the school requires for graduation, and they should require a gun safety course for students.
I mean, a gun safety course, how to avoid violence course. I mean, you could put a safety course that included gun safety, included de-escalation, included don't be stupid, and make it mandatory. The state can make class and the person has to have it in order to graduate.
Yeah, and they make sex ed required for people. They make PE required to graduate, so they can make gun safety required to graduate. And the only way you can get out of it is if you're a pacifist, you're a conscientious objector, you're never going to own a gun. Well, then fine. Then you can get an out. Like if you get an out from PE if you're disabled, or you can get an out from sex ed if it conflicts with your religious beliefs. Same thing. I don't have a problem. I have a problem with requiring grown adult people to acquiesce their rights to the government by putting requirements on it. However, I do not have a problem requiring students to take a specific class to graduate. So I would be okay with mandatory gun training in schools. I didn't even add that aspect of it to what I was saying, but I think that does make sense.
I think that would go a long way too. Just increasing the knowledge, and something that I feel like we as the gun community don't do a good enough job of doing. And this comes, I remember NRA TV tried to do this, and they had some good ideas. They tried to show the fun sporting side of this hobby. That it wasn't just, people out overthrowing the government, or, wanting to overthrow the government, be ready to overthrow the government. That gun ownership, there is a hobby there that is fun. And I think if we try to get that more into the culture, and we can start with, classes in schools, gun clubs and such, if we can get back to that, then I think a lot of the anti-gun stuff will sort of simmer down.
Well, you've got to go back and remember, like, the NRA was actually a pro-ecology and hunting organization. They did not start off as protecting gun rights. It was about just what you said, hunting clubs. Hey, how do we make sure hunting's safe? How do we, ensure the environment's there so we can keep hunting? And as they were able to get more and more money, and they realized that they could monetize the gun aspect of it more, that's when they started tipping the other direction. And I remember a gentleman who was in his 50s and 60s when I was right out of college, that's why he got out of the NRA, was they stopped being about, guns, hunter safety, gun safety, and that type of thing, and started more and more pushing about rights. And I don't,
Well, it became more political.
yeah, I'd have to go back and do some research as to if there was a big push in the 70s, to start limiting gun stuff. But yeah, you said classes, things that make it more normalized and aren't, hi, I'm Joe Badass, and I'm going to teach you how to kill 14 people with a pencil.
Yeah.
You got a 10-round magazine, and you can use your magazine to actually kill the other 3.
Well, that's one of the things we need to do as a community, is to start being better about dismissing those types of elements, the negative elements, and actually let it shine through that the vast majority of people that own guns, are into guns, don't do so to be the aggressor. They do so that they're not the victim. There's a big difference there. We've allowed a lot of the gun community to pretend you own guns because we're men and we're aggressive, and this allows us to get done what we want to get done and do what we want to do, when it's really most people who own guns, most people who own guns, don't have them because they want to enforce their opinion on someone else, which the Proud Boys and all that stuff, it's all about enforcing their opinions on someone else. We own them so no one enforces their opinions on us. And that's actually very American. The enforcing your opinions on other people, that's fascist, and that should be totally anti-American. But unfortunately, the gun community has really gravitated towards guns make you a man, and being a man is being aggressive and all this other stuff. And we won't sit down and let them take our stuff. We're going to fight for it. We're going to take over the government, which the vast majority of them, if it ever came down to where we did need to rise up against the government, are going to sit on their fucking couch and watch football, just like they would have if there was no revolution, and they're not going to be involved at all. So we need to do a lot to change that aspect of the gun community. That whole, you own guns. Guns are linked to aggression in so many people's minds, because the left, the anti-gunners, they want you to think that. They want you to think most people own guns because they want to be able to tell you what to do, when that's the opposite. And unfortunately, the loudest part of the gun community is more than willing to let that shine through. That whole, a gun makes you a man and it makes you tough, and we don't tolerate nothing, and we go hunting sexual predators and all this other stuff.
Yeah, I relate it to with policing, right? With police officers, law enforcement. There's a big difference between Joe Friday of the 60s and Dirty Harry in the 70s. And if you want to stop where some of this ultra macho, I got a sharp one-liner, I'm going to shoot first and ask questions later, because that the good guy didn't do that before. The good guy waited for the other guy to draw before he shot him, right? He obeyed the rules. He didn't just...
I blame Han Solo for that.
Yeah. Well, Greedo did shoot first.
No, Han Solo shot
No,
first.
Greedo shot first.
But Solo shot first.
But I think the point still stands. I think the culture started drifting, like you said. We as a country, if you want to explain why there's more violence, because it used to be, right, what was I can't remember the legal term, but if somebody punched you, it didn't give you the right to stab them.
Yeah.
Right? Unless there were extenuating circumstances.
Yeah, you could.
You're talking. I'm sorry. You're talking about the rise of the anti-hero.
Yeah. In the level there. But there was also, if someone punched me punching them back was considered okay. Right? Now, if I brought out a knife or a gun and hurt them, they're, unless I'm 5 foot and they're 7 foot, this isn't going, you're not going to get away with it. But more and more.
No one wants to be Superman anymore. They want to be the Punisher.
Yeah. Right. And if you see that, it's caused other people to be afraid. It's caused people that are weaker to be afraid. And they're, people I have talked to, well, I don't want to be shot. Okay. What makes you think you're going to be shot? You have been here for 30, 40 years on this planet. Has anyone ever shot at you?
Yes.
Well, some of us, yes. Yeah. But for the majority of people, no. It's like the majority of cops have never pulled their gun on anybody.
Well, that's not as true nowadays. It used to be the true statistics that, your chance of getting through your law enforcement career without having to ever draw your gun was high. Nowadays, they draw their guns first, and then they decide whether the situation actually warranted it or not.
Yep. And I can tell you this, all the old cops I know, they hate that.
Yeah.
That gun stayed in its holster until you needed it. And if you had it out,
Yeah,
they were reaching for something.
I had a talk with a guy off the side of the road one day after he tried to run us and some old lady off the road. I had a talk with him about how my kids were in the car, and he's very lucky my kids are in the car, because if they weren't, and I didn't want them to see their dad drag some asshole out on the street and beat his ass, that could likely be happening to him right now. Yeah. And then I left. He called the police. They meet us at the intersection down by the mall. 8 cars. They pin our car in. They all get out, guns drawn, pointing them at my car with my kids in it, over a talk with someone.
Yeah.
So it's ridiculous.
Well, but it's the same thing. Hi, this guy pulled a gun on me. He was driving this Camaro and he pulled a gun on me. Well, okay, they violent, this, that, whatever, they're going in.
Yeah.
But what happened to the guy who lied?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's but again, that's their response, is to show up, guns drawn, ask questions later.
And if an innocent person dies, that's not their fault, because their goal is to go home that night.
Well, they were doing their job. I mean, I can't fault that, but they were doing their job. That's the fault.
If you kill an innocent person, you're not doing your job.
No, but exactly. They should not have this immunity. The standard should not be higher for a non-trained civilian, and I hate that word, like me, versus a highly trained professional law enforcement officer. I have to double check, make sure it's a gun, make sure it was pointed at me, make sure they were going to use it, whereas they can just think somebody was reaching for something and use their gun. The standards should be flopped on that.
Yeah,
but I think I'm driving things off topic a little bit. I'm sorry.
Police officers should be trained to the point where they don't have to draw on someone first. They can assess the situation, understand whether they're going to need to draw, and then if someone does do something suspect or actually dangerous, they're capable of reacting to it quickly enough that they have the upper hand. And that their job is to take that little bit of risk so that they don't shoot an innocent person. It's kind of the same way I feel about prison. I would rather 10 guilty people go free because of the way the system works than I would see one innocent person put in prison. So I would like to weigh.
It's supposed to work.
Yep, I weigh on give them the benefit of the doubt, because it's not, you don't ever want to put an innocent person in prison. So if that means 10 guilty people go free, well, we'll catch them next time.
It's like when all these prosecutors run for higher office.
Yeah,
they tout how many criminals they put in jail. Well, but wait, that guy was wrongfully convicted. Oh, that was the jury. That wasn't me.
Yeah.
So they get the credit when the bad guy gets put away, but when it's a mistake, that was the jury's fault.
Kamala was big on that. That was her big thing. I put all these violent criminals away. Didn't a lot of these people end up getting released later because they didn't really commit the crimes? That's not my fault. It is your fault. You were the prosecutor. You decided that, okay, we're going to fight this evidence that proves they're innocent because we want to prove they're guilty. So we're going to have this evidence stricken from court and blah, 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 even though we know it's there, or we're going to hide it to where no one finds it. They do that all the fucking time. That was, we kind of beat that to death there, but we got a question here from Clinton Barella. You can stand under my Barella. That's what I started doing yesterday. What gun would the American Dream Dusty Rhodes carry, to round out the serious topics today? I don't know, but it'd be something flashy as Dusty Rhodes.
Oh God, Dusty. Oh, that's a tough one.
1911.
Is it nickel plated 1911s, or is it gold? Or is it something gold plated? Man, I could see him going more with the gold plated.
I don't think it'd be anything like that. I think it'd be like a chromed with gold accents and pearl handled little Colt pocket vest gun would be more, I think, but he kept in his boot, or something like that would be more of a Dusty Rhodes style, because it'd be to be tiny and subtle and fancy, almost feminine to the point. It's so fancy, but I think that would be more a Dusty Rhodes style gun.
The 1911 can be a 9mm.
Yeah, well, then I don't think even he would carry that. But yeah, I think it would have to be something fancy, almost effeminate, because he was big on that blurring the lines, what was manly and what wasn't, because he wasn't like a Gorgeous George or Jesse Ventura, but I mean, he was prissy and slurred, had a lisp and all that other stuff. So I think the little pocket gun would be. along his image.
Oh, wow. That is a good one.
Get him a Bond Arms bullpup. It all happens in the back.
Well, they weren't around when he was alive, so he wouldn't have one of those.
So maybe a Derringer then.
Maybe a Derringer. A Derringer would go. I think would work for him. Because he did get floofy sometimes. I mean, he's not as known for it, but he still liked feathered boas and big feathery jackets and stuff like that. He was flamboyant. Before Vince put him in a bumblebee basic outfit with his polka dots. We got another question here. Jacoby says, how much would you want to get paid to go to a Chinese massage parlor for the first time in your life? Not a gun question, but for Phil. I have never, I don't like massages. I don't like people touching me I don't know. So it'd have to be a lot of money for me to go. And I don't think they're going to pay me to go. So it's probably not even worth trying to figure out what it was. But I don't know if anybody in here gets massages. I can't stand someone touching me if I don't know them.
I'm not a massage person either. They don't do anything for me. And I know that's not what he's really asking, but I mean, you're going to give me money?
Is he expecting us to get the massage or give the massage?
I think he's expecting us to get like a happy ending or something.
Yeah, that's what I'm taking. I don't want that from I'm like, I do that well enough at home. But if you're going to give me money,
gross. There's no reason to be that gross. Oh God, that's gross. We don't do that here. We're freaking adults. We have a standard of what would that be? Decency.
Yeah, I mean, don't you normally have to pay the Chinese massage parlor?
Yeah, you have to pay for that. I wouldn't pay for it.
Was he ask? Yeah, the question doesn't make sense to me now.
Well, I guess he's wanting us to be prostitutes. Like, what's our what would be our? How much would we have to make to sell ourselves as sexual items? I guess. I don't know. It'd have to be a lot of money. I mean, I passed up lots of money when I was younger to do it, and nowadays I'm like, just somebody offer something.
Yeah, my price definitely varies by buyer. It is not a set fee.
No, I can see where sometimes it'd be free, and sometimes it'd be like $10 million. I don't have a lot of respect for people like what's her name, Melania, but you got to give it to her. That's some dedication to sleep with a fucking old, ugly man just to have money and wealth and stay in this country. Although I always wonder, why does the right think she's such an elegant lady? She's a fucking prostitute, basically. She was a softcore porn star that got caught being in the country illegally. So she married a rich old man and gave him a child so that she could be a highfalutin society woman. She's basically a prostitute, but they act like she's such a classy lady.
Good work if you can get it, I guess.
I would love it. I'd love to find a sugar mama or a sugar daddy right now. I don't care which, as long as they're loaded and got one foot in the grave, I'm willing to go for it. I might have to get a divorce first and then marry them so I get their money, but I'd be willing. I'm pretty sure, they understand. It's like, this is just for money. So we're going to get divorced and then we'll get married again later. I sent you more videos. This is from Officer Tater Hater. That about the cop wife sticking up for her husband who kicked out of a restaurant was hilarious. I didn't see your videos today. I was busy doing other stuff. I had to go to Costco. It's Saturday. People my age are required to go to Costco on Saturday. I think it's the law, pretty much. I think that's how the government keeps track of us. It's like a tagging thing, but different. It's your Costco card. That's why they start scanning at the door so they can keep track of all the old people. So they're
tracking them rotisserie chickens. That's how they do it.
I ate one of those just a little bit ago.
Mm-hmm.
Well, not all of them. I just ate the legs and thighs. Because I like the dark meat, which means you'd think I'd like one of them Chinese massage parlors, but I don't. But that looks like that's going to be it for us today. Looks like we're out of time. Has anybody got anything they want to say before we get out of here today?
Yeah, just to clarify the Batman question from yesterday. So in my mind, you've got this argument that's just crazy that Batman could beat Superman. As you have said, it's like kryptonite just depends on who's doing the writing. Flat out, Batman will not beat Superman. Superman, if he doesn't hold back, will kill him. So I guess the argument in my brain was, what gun is the Batman, right? Here's a good gun, a great gun, and then there's always this gun that, well, this gun could do this, and this gun could do that, and this is why it's better than that gun. Kind of thing. At the risk of making your head hurt again.
Yeah, it just gave me a headache yesterday. I ain't thinking about it again.
All right.
So we're talking about a gun that's extremely difficult to kill the target.
What? Now you're making me even more confused.
No. So let's say you've got a SIG 226. Hard to argue that's not one of the best guns ever. And then this person went, well, here's a Glock, and the Glock can do this better, and the Glock could have done this, and if I trick it out this way, it's a better gun. And so maybe it's just too in-depth of a question, but all right, I'm taking up too much time. My apologies.
It doesn't make any sense to me. I don't know what he's talking about. Welper, do you understand it? You're a little off.
I have no idea what he was talking about.
Yeah, me either. I don't understand this one. But we're just going to end on today on that note. So thanks everyone for coming. Thanks everyone for participating today. Remember, we do these every Saturday. If you want to be part of the group, feel free. If you got questions for the group, bring them on in. Thanks to everybody who participated today. I'll see y'all again tomorrow. Until then, remember, always carry and stay safe till we see you again. Now everybody wave and smile. Well, those of you that can be seen.
Bye.